I listened to her voice notes long after the silence started, because letting go felt like losing the only part of me that still felt alive. I still remember how the rain sounded that first evening. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady, like someone breathing against the window glass for hours. I was sitting at the far end of that little beach cafe, the one with the peeling blue paint and 3 plastic chairs nobody ever claims. My laptop was open, but I wasn't working. I'd given up pretending an hour earlier. The screen had gone dark. I was just watching water drip from the thatched roof, counting the drops that missed the bucket. Then she walked in, not rushed, not like she was escaping anything. She just appeared under the tiny awning, shaking out a small black umbrella that had already given up halfway. Her hair was damp at the ends. She looked at the empty place like she'd been here 100 times before and still didn't know where to sit. I didn't mean to stare, but when she glanced over, our eyes met for maybe 2 seconds longer than strangers usually allow. She gave the smallest smile, the kind that says, "I see you seeing me," without making it a thing. She chose the table 2 away from mine, close enough that I could hear her order masala chai, no sugar, close enough that when the waiter set it down, steam curled up and caught the fairy lights. I went back to pretending I was working, but every few minutes my eyes drifted. Not obvious, just checking. She pulled out earphones, tucked one in, left the other dangling like an invitation nobody had accepted yet. The rain got heavier, the kind of rain that makes you feel like the rest of the world canceled its plans. After maybe 20 minutes, she looked over again. This time she spoke. "You're really committed to that dead screen, huh?" Her voice was soft, a little amused, not mocking. I laughed. Quietly, surprised I still remembered how. "Yeah, it's my best work so far tonight." She tilted her head toward the rain outside. "Honestly, this weather deserves better than Excel." I closed the laptop without thinking. "I'm listening." She smiled again, smaller this time, almost private. Then she asked if I minded Hindi songs from the 90s. I told her I didn't mind anything that didn't ask me questions. She turned the volume low enough that I could still hear rain on the tin roof. Old Kishore Kumar. Something about a letter that never got sent. She didn't sing along. She just closed her eyes for a few seconds like the song was touching a place she usually kept locked. When it ended, she looked at me. "You stayed." I shrugged. "Rain's loud. Hard to leave in the middle of good rain." She nodded like that made perfect sense. That was how it started. No big moment. No lightning. Just 2 people sitting near each other while water fell for hours. After that night, I started coming to the cafe more often. Not every day. I didn't want to seem desperate, but 3 times a week. Maybe 4. She was there most of those evenings too. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we didn't. Sometimes she'd slide her phone across the table with a new song queued up and I'd listen while she watched the sea disappear behind gray curtains. One night the power went out. The fairy lights died. The fan stopped. It got suddenly darker, warmer, closer. She didn't leave. Neither did I. We sat in the almost black listening to rain hit the ocean like it was trying to say something important. After a long quiet, she said, "I like that you don't try to fill every silence." I looked at her outline in the dimness. "I like that you don't mind when I don't." She laughed under her breath. Soft, real. That was when I first felt it. This small warm weight in my chest. Not fireworks, not even butterflies, just recognition. Like I'd been holding my breath for years and someone finally noticed. I didn't name it then. I didn't dare. But every time her typing bubble appeared on WhatsApp later that night, those 3 little dots, my shoulders dropped a fraction. Like my body already knew something my mind was still too careful to admit. She sent her first voice note at 1:14 a.m. Just 32 seconds. Her voice sleepy, a little cracked from the day. She said the rain was louder at her place. Said it sounded like the sea was trying to come inside. Said good night like she meant stay. I didn't reply with words. I sent one back 41 seconds. Told her the bucket under the leak was almost full again. Told her the cafe owner still hasn't fixed it. Told her I liked hearing her voice when everything else was quiet. I hit send before I could overthink it. She didn't reply right away, but the next evening when I walked in, she was already there. Same table, same umbrella leaning against the chair like it belonged. She looked up, smiled that small private smile, and said, "Your voice note kept me company last night." I sat down across from her, didn't say anything clever, just felt grateful the rain was loud enough to cover how fast my heart was beating. I didn't know then how rare those evenings would become. I didn't know the silence that was already waiting down the line. I just knew, right in that moment, that I wanted 100 more nights exactly like this one. Even if they never came, I still don't know if I would have changed anything, even if I'd known how it would end, because those first evenings, they felt like permission. Permission to feel something again. Permission to sit in the rain with someone who didn't ask me to be different. And for a while, that was enough. Those evenings started to feel like something I could count on. Not in a loud way, just steady, like the tide coming in every night whether anyone noticed or not. After the power cut night, I began saving her voice notes instead of letting them disappear after listening. I didn't tell her that. It felt too private even to admit to myself. But when the house was quiet and the rain picked up again, I'd play one back. Just the sound of her breathing between words, the small laugh when she caught herself rambling. One night, she sent one at 12:43 a.m. Her voice was softer than usual, almost whispering. I walked to the beach after dinner. No one else was out there, just me and the waves arguing with the rain. I thought of you, not sure why, just did. I sat on my balcony listening to it 3 times before I answered. My reply was shorter. I was thinking of you too. The cafe felt empty tonight without your terrible umbrella. She sent back a laughing emoji and then, after a long pause, another voice note. You noticed I'm bad with umbrellas? I noticed everything, I said in mine. Then I deleted that sentence and re-recorded. You make it look charming. I hit send before I could second guess again. The next evening she was already at our table when I arrived. She had 2 cups of chai waiting, one with sugar, one without. She pushed the sweet one toward me without a word. I sat down, took a sip. It was perfect. She looked out at the rain instead of at me. I keep thinking about what you said, about noticing. I waited. She turned her phone face down on the table, like she didn't want it to interrupt. I don't usually let people notice things. It feels dangerous. I nodded slowly. I get that. She looked at me then, really looked, not searching for anything, just seeing. We didn't speak for a while after that. The rain did the talking. We just sat there letting it fall around us like a curtain nobody else could cross. Later that week, the rain paused for maybe 20 minutes. Long enough that the air smelled clean. She suggested a walk. We didn't hold hands. Not yet. But we walked close enough that our sleeves brushed every few steps. She shared one earphone. I held the wire between us like it was something fragile. She played a slow song. Something about remembering someone in the middle of the night. Halfway through, she stopped walking. Just stood there on the wet sand looking at the dark water. I stopped too. She spoke quietly. When it rains like this, I feel safe. Like nothing bad can reach me. I didn't say anything right away. I just stood beside her feeling the same thing. Only it wasn't the rain making me feel safe. It was her. We started trading voice notes almost every night. Sometimes short, sometimes long enough that my phone warned me about storage. She'd tell me small things. How the streetlight outside her window flickered when the wind was strong. How she still kept her childhood cassette player even though it didn't work anymore. How she liked the smell of wet earth more than any perfume. I told her things I hadn't told anyone in years. How I used to hate being alone until I got too used to it. How sometimes I'd sit in the cafe even when she wasn't there just to feel like the place still remembered us. One night she fell asleep on a call. We'd been talking about nothing important, just letting our voices fill the quiet. Her breathing changed, slowed, deepened. I didn't hang up. I listened to her sleep for almost an hour. The rain tapping her window, her small size, the distant horn of a ship leaving harbor. When I finally ended the call, I sat there in the dark, feeling something shift inside me. Not big, not loud, just deeper. I realized I wasn't waiting for her to text anymore. I was waiting for the moment I could hear her voice again. Any moment, even if it was just good night. The next evening at the cafe, she looked tired. Eyes a little heavier, smile a little slower. I asked if she was okay. She nodded. Just didn't sleep well. She didn't explain more. I didn't push. But when she slid her hand across the table, palm up, fingers relaxed, I placed mine over hers. Not holding, just resting. She didn't pull away. We sat like that until the chai went cold. That night, her voice note came later than usual. 2:17 a.m. Her voice was small. I liked when you touched my hand tonight. It felt safe. I listened to it twice before replying. I said, I liked it too, more than I thought I would. I didn't send anything else. I didn't need to, because for the first time in a long time, I went to sleep without checking my phone again. I already knew she'd be there tomorrow, or the day after, or the one after that. At least, that's what I believed. I still wonder sometimes if I'd paid closer attention to the way her smile faltered those last few evenings. If I'd asked one more question, would anything have changed? Or was the silence already on its way? No matter how tightly we held the quiet between us, the days started blending together in the best way. Not boring, just comfortable. Like the rain had decided to stay for the season and we were okay with that. We didn't label anything. We didn't need to. She'd text me around 7 p.m. most evenings, nothing fancy. Just leaving work. Or cafe in 20, and I'd already be walking there, umbrella in hand, even though I knew she'd forget hers again. One night, the rain was heavier than usual. The kind that makes the streets shine like they're covered in black glass. We didn't sit inside. We took the long way along the beach road instead. No destination, just moving through the wet air together. She tucked her arm through mine. First time she'd done that. Not dramatic. She just did it like it was the most natural thing. I felt the warmth of her through my damp sleeve. Small thing, huge thing. We stopped under one of those old street lamps that flickered like it was tired too. She looked up at the rain coming down in lines. I used to hate getting wet, she said. Now I kind of like it. Feels honest.
I glänzt sehr her.
Honest how? She thought for a second. Like the sky isn't pretending. It's just falling.
No επάλεγεις.
I nodded even though she wasn't looking at me. I get that. We kept walking. The waves were loud that night. Not angry, just present. Like they were listening. Later, back at her place, first time I'd been inside, she made us instant coffee because the power was being funny again. We sat on her tiny balcony, 2 plastic chairs, 1 small table between us, rain drumming on the tin overhang above. She played our playlist through a little speaker, low volume, the same songs we'd been trading for weeks. She leaned her head back against the wall, eyes half closed. I watched her more than the rain, not staring, just taking it in. The way her breathing matched the rhythm of the music. The way she smiled at nothing when a particular line came on. After a while, she turned her head toward me. You're quiet tonight. I shrugged. Just listening. To the rain. To everything. She reached over and rested her fingers on my wrist. Light, barely there. But it felt like the only point of contact between me and the rest of the world. We stayed like that until the coffee was cold and the playlist looped back to the first song. She didn't move her hand. I didn't want her to. That night, when I got home, I sent her a voice note. Just her name. Then silence for a few seconds. Then, I like how safe I feel when I'm with you. I didn't wait for a reply. I turned off the light and lay there listening to the rain through my own window. It sounded different now. Softer. Like it knew something I was only starting to understand. A few nights later, she canceled. First time. Just a text. Feeling off tonight. Rain check. I wrote back right away. Of course. Rest. She sent a heart emoji. Nothing else. The next evening, she canceled again. Same message. Almost word for word. I told myself it was nothing. People get tired. Monsoon does that. Makes everything feel heavier. But the third night, she didn't text at all. I waited until 10:30. then sent a simple "You okay?"
No type in buble.
No reply. I played one of her old voice notes before bed. The one where she whispered about walking on the empty beach. I listened twice, then turned the phone face down. The next morning there was still nothing. I went to the cafe anyway, sat at our table, ordered chai for two even though I knew she wasn't coming. The waiter didn't ask questions. He just set the second cup down and left it there. I stared at it until it went cold. That evening my phone lit up around 11:47 p.m. Her name, a long message. I opened it slowly. "I've been thinking a lot. I need space. There's someone else now.
I'm sorry.
I didn't mean for it to feel like this. Please don't hate me." That was it.
No explanation. No soft landing.
Just those words sitting there in the blue light of my screen. I read it again, then again. My thumb hovered over the reply button. I typed "What happened?" Deleted it. Typed "I don't understand." Deleted that too. In the end, I sent nothing. I turned the phone off, sat in the dark, listened to the rain hit the window like it was trying to get in. I didn't cry. Not then. I just felt this quiet hollow open up somewhere under my ribs. Not sharp, just empty. I kept replaying the last time I'd seen her. The way her hand had rested on my wrist. The way she'd looked at me like she was memorizing something. Had I missed it? Some sign? Some shift in her eyes? Or had she been carrying it alone the whole time? I didn't know. And the not knowing was louder than the rain. For weeks after that, I kept her number. Kept the voice notes. Kept going to the cafe some evenings, not hoping she'd be there. Just sitting in the place that still remembered us. I told myself I was fine. Told myself people drift. Told myself it was better this way, clean.
No me sigudbie.
But every time the rain started again at night, I'd catch myself waiting for the three little dots, even though I knew they weren't coming. And somewhere deep down, a small part of me still hoped they would. I didn't delete anything. Not her messages. Not the playlist. Not even the second cup I used to order. I just let time move forward. One quiet night at a time. Because letting go completely felt like erasing the only part of me that had felt alive in years. So I carried the silence instead, and waited for it to stop hurting quite so much. The silence stretched longer than I thought it could. Not dramatic silence, just absence. The kind that makes ordinary sounds feel too loud. The fridge humming at 2 a.m., the fan clicking once every few minutes, my own breathing when I tried to sleep. I stopped going to the cafe for a while. It felt like trespassing on something that wasn't mine anymore. Instead, I walked the beach alone some nights. Not the same path we used to take. A different stretch. Farther down where the sand was coarser and the lights didn't reach. The rain kept coming. Late monsoon didn't care that everything had changed. Fell the same way, steady, patient, indifferent. I replayed her last message in my head more times than I'll admit. There's someone else now. Those 5 words sat like stones in my chest. Not heavy enough to crush me, just heavy enough to make every breath feel borrowed. I wondered who he was, what he looked like when he made her laugh. If he remembered to ask how her day was without making it sound like an interview. If he held her hand the way I had, not tight, just there. I hated that I wondered, but I couldn't stop. Some nights I'd open WhatsApp, scroll up to the voice notes from before. I'd play one, the one where she talked about the beach at midnight. Her voice still sounded the same, warm, a little sleepy, like she was right there in the dark with me. I'd listen until the end. Then I'd sit in the quiet after, feeling the ache settle deeper. Not anger, not even sadness exactly, just this soft, tired missing. I told myself I should delete them, clear the space, move on like people do. But every time my thumb hovered over the trash icon, something stopped me. Maybe it was fear, that if I erased them, the memory would fade faster than the hurt. Maybe it was hope, small, stubborn hope that one day she'd explain. Or maybe it was just that her voice still felt like the only thing that understood me. Months passed. Not quickly, not slowly either, just forward. I moved to Mumbai for a new project. Same work from anywhere life, different city. Suburbs mostly, quiet lanes, fewer beaches. more concrete. But the rain still found me. It sounded different here, sharper against metal roofs, less forgiving. I didn't look for her. I didn't search her name. I didn't ask mutual friends anything. I just let the days stack up. One afternoon in early spring, the kind where the heat starts pressing in but the air still remembers rain, I had to go to a hospital in Andheri. Routine blood work. Nothing serious. I sat in the waiting area staring at the floor tiles, trying not to think about anything at all. Then I saw her. Not dramatic. No slow motion moment. Just her. Across the corridor. Thinner. A soft gray beanie pulled low. A loose sweater that looked too big. She was holding someone's hand. A man. Older. Gentle posture. He was speaking quietly to her, thumb brushing the back of her hand. My heart didn't race. It just stopped for a second, then started again slower. I didn't move. Couldn't. She turned slightly. Our eyes met. For maybe 3 seconds, neither of us blinked. Then she looked down. Her shoulders dropped a fraction. The man, her brother, I'd learn later, noticed her change. He followed her gaze. Saw me. His expression softened. Not surprise. Recognition. Like he already knew who I was. She whispered something to him. He nodded. Then he walked over. I stood up without thinking. He stopped a few feet away. Spoke low. I'm her brother. She didn't want you to know. I waited. He glanced back at her. She was still looking at the floor. Chemotherapy, he said, started a few months after she stopped replying. She thought if she just disappeared, it would hurt less. For you, she thought you'd move on cleaner. The words landed softly, one after another. No punch, just truth settling. I looked past him to her. She lifted her eyes then. They were tired, but clear. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel relieved yet either. I just felt seen, like the silence finally had a shape. He stepped aside, gave us space without leaving. She walked over slowly, stopped in front of me. Her voice was quieter than I remembered.
I'm sorry.
I nodded once, because what else was there to do right then? She looked at the beanie she was twisting in her hands. I didn't want you sitting in waiting rooms, watching me lose hair, watching me be less. I thought if I said someone else, you'd hate me fast, and then forget me faster. I swallowed. You thought I'd forget you. She met my eyes again. I hoped you would. For your sake. The corridor felt smaller. The fluorescent lights softer somehow. I didn't say I understood. Not yet. I just said, I kept your voice notes. Her lips parted slightly. A small breath escaped. I kept listening to them, I said. Even after. She closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them again, they were wet. Not crying. Just full. I'm still here, she whispered. Some days it doesn't feel like it, but I'm still here. I nodded again, slower this time. Her brother stepped closer, gentle. I'll wait outside, he said. Then to me, she's stronger than she looks. He walked away. We stood there, two people who used to share earphones under umbrellas, now standing in a hospital corridor that smelled like antiseptic and old coffee. After a long quiet, she said, Can we sit somewhere? I looked around. There was a bench near the window at the end of the hall. Rain had started again, soft tapping on the glass. We walked over, sat down, not touching, but close enough that I could feel her warmth against the cold plastic. Neither of us spoke for a while. We just watched the rain streak the window. Then she said, I missed you. Every single day. I looked at her profile, the curve of her cheek, the way the beanie slipped a little, a few short strands of hair underneath. I missed you too, I said. No more words after that. Not yet. We just sat, listening to rain on glass, feeling the weight of 8 months lift, not gone but lighter. And for the first time in a long time, the quiet didn't feel empty. Felt like something we could finally share again. I didn't know what came next. I didn't need to know right then, because sitting beside her, even in a hospital at 2 a.m., felt like coming home to a place I thought I'd lost. And that was enough for one night. We didn't rush anything after that bench.
No promises.
No plans. Just two people sitting there while Rain traced slow paths down the window. Her brother came back eventually. He didn't interrupt. He just stood a little way off, giving us time. When she finally stood up, her movements were careful. Like her body was reminding her it wasn't the same anymore. She looked at me, not asking anything, just checking if I was still there. I stood too. "I'll walk you out," I said. She nodded, small, grateful. In the corridor, the fluorescent lights felt too bright suddenly. We walked slowly, her brother on her other side, not protective, just present. Outside the main entrance, the rain had eased to a drizzle, the kind that hangs in the air more than it falls. We stopped under the overhang, cars passing slowly, headlights cutting soft yellow through the mist. She turned to me. "I don't know what happens now." I looked at her, the beanie still low, eyes tired but steady. "Neither do I said. "And that's okay." She gave the smallest smile, the one I remembered from the cafe, the private one. Her brother cleared his throat gently. "I'll get the car. Take your time." He walked off toward the parking lot. We stood there, just us again, rain dripping from the edge of the roof, a quiet rhythm between us. She spoke first. "I kept one of your voice notes too, the one where you said my name." Then nothing for a few seconds. Then good night. I listened to it when the nights got long. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not all the way, but enough. "I kept listening to yours," I said, "even when it hurt." She looked down at her shoes, wet from the walk. "I thought disappearing would protect you, but it just left us both alone with it." I nodded. "Yeah." No blame in my voice.
No anger.
Just the truth sitting there between us. She lifted her eyes again. "I'm not the same person I was. The one who laughed at your umbrella. The one who fell asleep on calls." I stepped a little closer, not crowding, just enough so she could feel I was there. "You're still you," I said. "Different version maybe, but still the one who makes Rain feel safe." Her breath caught, small, almost not there. She reached out. Her fingers brushed mine, not holding yet, just touching. I turned my hand over, palm up. She rested hers inside it, cool from the night, trembling just a little. We stayed like that. No words, just the feel of skin on skin after so long without it. Her brother pulled up. Low beams. He didn't honk, just waited. She looked at the car, then back at me. "Can I text you?" she asked, quiet, like she wasn't sure she was allowed. I squeezed her hand once, gently. "Yeah, anytime." She nodded, a small exhale, like she'd been holding something in for months. She let go slowly, walked to the car, opened the door. Before she got in, she looked back. "Good night," she said. I smiled, soft. "Good night." The car pulled away, tail lights fading into the wet street. I stood there a long time after, rain picking up again, dripping from my hair. I didn't move to cover myself. I just let it fall. Back at my place that night, I didn't sleep right away. I sat on the balcony. Same chair. Same view of Mumbai lights blurred by rain. My phone stayed dark for a while. Then, around 3:42 a.m., it lit up. Her name. A voice note. 28 seconds. I pressed play. Her voice came through. Tired, but calm. "I got home. The rain sounds different here than in Goa, but it still feels like something familiar. Thank you for not hating me. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect you to still look at me the same way.
I'm scared.
But I'm glad you're there, even if it's just on the other side of a message. Good night." I listened to it twice. Then I recorded one back. "Hey, I'm glad you texted. I'm glad you're home safe. I'm scared too, but not of you, just of time, of not getting enough of it. But I want whatever we can have. No pressure.
No rules.
Just you being here, however you are. Good night." I sent it. Then I lay down, listened to the rain through the open window, felt the ache in my chest shift again. Not gone, but different, softer, like something that had been broken was starting to remember how to bend instead. I didn't know if we'd make it, I didn't know how many more nights like this we'd get. But right then, with her voice note still open on my phone, I felt something I hadn't felt in 8 months. Hope, quiet, small, but real. And for the first time since the silence started, I closed my eyes without waiting for something that wasn't coming. I just let the rain keep falling and let myself rest inside it. Some things don't come back the way they were, but sometimes they come back anyway, different, but still worth staying for. And that night, that felt like enough. The days after the hospital felt strangely gentle, like the world had turned down its volume just for us. No big declarations, no rushing back into old routines, just small, careful steps. Messages that arrived when they arrived. Voice notes that came late when the night felt safest. The first text after that night was simple. From her, around noon the next day. "Did you sleep okay?" I stared at it for a minute, felt the corner of my mouth lift without meaning to. "Yeah, rain helped." "You?" she replied almost right away. "Better than usual. Thanks to knowing you weren't angry." I typed back slowly. "I was never angry, just lost for a while." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then a voice note, 41 seconds. Her voice was soft, a little hoarse from the morning. "I kept thinking about what you said, about time, about not getting enough of it. Scared me too. But hearing you say you want whatever we can have, it made the fear feel smaller. Not gone, just smaller." I listened to it sitting on my balcony. Same chair, same Mumbai rain starting up again. Lighter now, more like mist. I closed my eyes while her words settled. I sent one back, quiet. "I meant it. No timeline, no rules. Just you letting me know you're still breathing on the other side of the city. That's enough for today." She sent a heart, just one. No words, but it felt like more. We started small again, like we were learning each other for the first time. She'd send a photo of her tea in the afternoon. Steam rising. "Kapsчин, no sugar." Still, I'd reply with a picture of the sky from my window. Gray, raining. Caption, same sky, different view. Sometimes she'd call. Not video, just voice. We'd talk for 10 minutes, sometimes 20. Never long enough to feel heavy. She told me about the side effects that came and went. The days when getting out of bed felt like climbing a wall. The nights when the quiet felt too loud. I listened, didn't try to fix anything. Just said, "I'm here, right here." One evening she asked if I wanted to meet. Not at a cafe, not a walk, just her place. "If you're free." No pressure. I was there within the hour. She opened the door wearing the same oversized sweater from the hospital. Beanie gone now, short hair growing back in soft patches. She looked smaller, but her eyes were the same, warm, a little uncertain. She stepped aside. "Come in." The apartment smelled like rain and chamomile. Same balcony, same 2 chairs. A small lamp on in the corner, warm light, not bright. We sat outside, rain tapping the tin roof above us. She pulled her knees up, wrapped her arms around them. I didn't sit too close, gave her space, but close enough she could reach if she wanted. For a long time we didn't speak, just listened to the rain, watched it streak the railing, watched droplets collect and fall. Then she said, "I used to think disappearing was kind. Now I think it was just fear wearing kindness's clothes." I looked at her. She was staring at the rain, not avoiding me, just letting the words come out. "I was afraid you'd stay out of pity, or leave when it got hard. So I chose for you, told myself it was mercy." She turned her head slightly, met my eyes. I was wrong. I reached over slowly, palm up on the small table between us. She looked at it for a second, then placed her hand in mine, cool fingers, trembling just a little. I closed my hand around hers. Gently, "I would have stayed," I said. "Not out of pity, because it was you." Her breath hitched, small. She didn't pull away. We sat like that until the rain picked up again. Louder, steadier. She spoke after a while. "I don't know how much time I have. The doctors say one thing one day, something else the next. I stopped asking for promises. I nodded. I know. But I want this, she said. Quiet. Whatever this is. You. Me. Then. Voice notes at 3 a.m. I want it. Even if it's fragile. I squeezed her hand once. I want it too. She leaned her head back against the wall. Closed her eyes. A small smile touched her lips. Not big. Just real. Later, when the rain eased, she played our old playlist. Low. Through the same little speaker. We didn't talk much after that. Just sat. Hands still touching. Letting the music and the rain fill the spaces words couldn't reach. When I left that night, she walked me to the door. Hesitated. Then stepped forward. Hugged me. Soft. Careful. But real. I held her back. Felt her heartbeat against my chest. Steady. Still here. She pulled back just enough to look up. Thank you for coming. I brushed a short strand of hair from her forehead. Light touch. I'll come again. Whenever you want. She nodded, eyes shining a little in the hallway light. I walked home through the wet streets. Rain on my shoulders. Not cold. Just there. My phone buzzed when I got inside. Voice note from her. 23 seconds. I pressed play before I even took off my shoes. Her voice sleepy now. Warm. I'm glad you were here tonight. Felt like before. But better. Because we know what we almost lost. Sleep well. I'll be here tomorrow. I stood in the dark kitchen. Listened again. Felt something settle deep inside me. Not fixed. Not perfect. But peaceful. I sent one back. Short. You're right. It's better now. Because it's honest. Good night. I'm here too. I lay down after that. Window open. Rain still falling. Soft. Steady. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't wonder what came next. I just let myself feel grateful for right now. For her voice still in my phone. For her hand still warm in my memory. For rain that kept falling like it always had, only now it felt like it was falling for us. Some endings don't look like endings at all. They look like new beginnings wearing familiar clothes. Quiet ones. Honest ones. And tonight, that felt like the kindest thing the rain could give us. Time started moving differently after that night on her balcony. Not faster, not slower, just kinder. Like the rain had finally decided to stop rushing and just stay. We didn't see each other every day. Some weeks it was twice. Some weeks only once when her energy allowed it. I never asked for more. She never had to explain why some days she needed quiet alone. But every time we did meet, it felt like picking up right where we left off. No awkward catching up. No pretending the gaps hadn't happened. Just us, sitting, breathing the same damp air. One evening I brought over a small thermos of chai. No sugar for her, a little for me. She opened the door wearing soft cotton pajamas and the same oversized sweater. Her hair was longer now, still short but enough to curl at the ends when it was humid. She smiled when she saw the thermos. You remembered. I stepped inside. Of course. We went straight to the balcony. Chairs already pulled close. A small blanket folded on one of them. She'd started keeping it there for when the breeze turned cooler after midnight. We poured the chai. Saturday. Watched the rain fall in thin silver lines past the railing. She took a slow sip. Closed her eyes. This tastes like before. I looked at her. Yeah, it does. She opened her eyes again.
Metmina.
I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. For something to go wrong again. For me to ruin it somehow. I set my cup down. Reached for her hand across the small space between us. She let me take it. You're not going to ruin anything, I said, quiet. And if something goes wrong, we'll sit with it. Together. Like this. She turned her hand in mine. Laced our fingers. Light pressure. Not desperate. Just sure. We stayed quiet for a while. The rain did its thing. Steady. Patient. Later she leaned her head on my shoulder. First time she'd done that since everything changed. Her hair brushed my neck. Soft. Still carrying the faint smell of hospital shampoo mixed with something warmer. I didn't move. Didn't speak. Just let her rest there. After a long minute she whispered, I used to think love had to be big, loud gestures, grand promises. Now I think maybe it's this, just showing up, even when it's small, even when it's hard. I felt my throat tighten, not from sadness, from something softer, something grateful. I think you're right, I said. She lifted her head just enough to look at me. Her eyes were clear, tired, yes, but clear. I'm glad I didn't lose you completely, she said. I'm glad you found your way back. I brushed my thumb across the back of her hand. I never really left. I was just waiting in the quiet. She smiled then, small, real, the kind that reaches her eyes. We listened to the rain some more, let the playlist play low in the background. Same old songs, same repeating motif on the guitar that never quite resolved. Around 1 a.m. she yawned, soft, covered her mouth with the back of her hand. I stood up slowly. I should let you rest. She stood too, didn't let go of my hand. Will you stay a little longer? She asked. Not for anything big, just sit inside with me until I fall asleep. I nodded. Of course. We moved to her small living room. She curled up on the couch, blanket over her legs.
He sat beside her.
Close enough that our shoulders touched. She played one more song, the one about letters never sent, the one we'd listened to that first night in the cafe. Halfway through, her breathing changed, slower, deeper. I didn't move, just sat there feeling her weight against me, steady, still here. When the song ended, I turned the speaker off, left the rain to fill the room. She stirred once, murmured something soft I couldn't catch, then settled again. I stayed until her breathing was even, until the rain outside matched the rhythm of her chest rising and falling. Then I slipped out quietly, locked the door behind me with the spare key she'd given me weeks earlier. No words about it. She just handed it over one night. I took it. That was all. Walking home that night, the streets were empty. Rain light on my face. Not cold, just clean. My phone stayed silent until I got inside. Then a voice note from her, sent while I was still walking. I pressed play in the dark hallway. Her voice, sleepy, half dreaming. I felt you leave. Thank you for staying until I was asleep. Felt safe, like nothing could touch me while you were here. I love that you're careful with me. I love that you're still here. Good night, or good morning, whichever it is when you hear this. I listened to it twice, standing there in my wet shoes, feeling something warm spread through my chest. Not fireworks, not even butterflies, just peace. I sent one back, short, quiet. I'm glad it felt safe. I'm glad I could be there. Sleep well. I'll be here tomorrow too. I didn't wait for a reply. I knew she was already asleep. I lay down after that. Window cracked. Rain still falling outside. Soft now, like it was whispering goodnight. And lying there in the dark, I thought about how close we'd come to never having this again. How easy it would have been to stay gone, to let the silence win. But we didn't. We chose the quiet instead. The small things, the hand-holding, the chai, the staying. And right then, with her voice note still glowing on my screen, that choice felt like the bravest thing either of us had ever done. Not loud, not dramatic, just ours. Some nights you don't need answers. You just need someone who shows up anyway. Someone who stays through the rain, through the fear, through the uncertainty. And when you find that, even if it's fragile, even if it's borrowed time, it's enough to make the quiet feel like home again. That's what this felt like. Home. Quietly. Finally. The rain never really stopped that summer. It just changed its mood sometimes. Gentle one night, heavier the next, but always there, like it knew we still needed the sound to feel safe. We started spending more evenings at her place. Not every night, but enough that I kept a spare shirt in her drawer. Enough that she started leaving the second pillow fluffed on the couch for when I stayed late. One evening I arrived with nothing in my hands.
No chai, no playlist suggestion.
Just me. She opened the door, looked at me for a second longer than usual, then stepped back, let me in without a word. We went to the balcony like always, But tonight she didn't sit right away. She stood at the railing, hands resting on the wet metal, rain falling just beyond her fingers. I stood beside her, not touching, just close. After a while she spoke, quiet, almost lost in the rain. "I got the scan results today." My stomach tightened, not sudden, just slow, like cold water settling. She didn't look at me, kept watching the rain. "It's stable, not gone, but stable. No new growth. For now." I exhaled, didn't realize I'd been holding my breath. She turned her head slightly, met my eyes. I thought I'd feel bigger relief, but mostly I just felt tired, like I've been waiting for permission to rest. And now it's here, but I don't know how to take it. I stepped closer, put my hand on her lower back. "Light, steady. You don't have to figure it out tonight," I said. She nodded once. Small movement. We stood like that until the rain picked up again, louder on the tin roof, covering everything else. Later we moved inside. She curled up on the couch.
I sat beside her.
She pulled the blanket over both of us. Not for warmth exactly, just for the feeling of being covered together. She rested her head on my chest. I could feel her breathing, slow, even. After a long quiet, she whispered, "I keep thinking about the night I sent that message, the one that said there was someone else." I didn't speak, just waited. I sat on this same couch, typing and deleting, typing again. I told myself it was kinder, but really, I was terrified you'd stay, and then leave later, when I looked like this, when I couldn't laugh the same way, when I couldn't walk the beach without getting out of breath. Her voice cracked just a little, not crying, just honest. "I chose the hurt I could control," she said. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders, pulled her closer, gently. "I would have stayed," I said again. Same words I'd said before, but they felt heavier now, more true. She lifted her head, looked up at me, eyes searching. "I know that now. I believe it now. But back then, I didn't trust it. I didn't trust me enough to let you decide." I brushed my fingers along her arm, slow circles. "I get it." She laid her head back down, listened to my heartbeat for a minute. Then she said, "I'm sorry I took that choice away from you." I kissed the top of her head, soft, barely there. "I forgive you," I said, "and I'm sorry I didn't push harder, didn't ask more questions, didn't show up at your door when the silence got too long." She let out a small breath, almost a laugh, but soft. "You would've, if you'd known. Maybe." We stayed quiet after that, rain filling the room again, her breathing syncing with it somehow. Later, much later, when the playlist had looped twice and the lamp was the only light left, she spoke again, voice barely above a whisper. "I want to try living like this, not waiting for the next scan, not waiting for the other shoe, just living, with you, in the rain, however long we get." I felt something shift inside me, not big, not loud, just deeper. I turned my head, kissed her forehead again, slower this time. "I want that too," I said. She lifted her face, looked at me, really looked. Then she leaned in, pressed her lips to mine, soft, careful, like she was asking permission with every millimeter. I kissed her back, same way.
No rush, no hunger.
Just yes, yes to this, yes to us, yes to whatever time we had left. When we pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine, eyes closed, breathing the same air. "Thank you," she whispered, "for still wanting me." I cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek. "I never stopped." She smiled then, small, tired, but real. We didn't say anything more that night. We just stayed close, under the blanket, listening to rain on the roof, feeling each other breathe. And in that quiet, the kind of quiet that used to scare me, I realized something gentle, something I hadn't let myself feel before. This wasn't about forever anymore. It was about right now. And right now felt like enough. More than enough. I still don't know how many more nights like this we'll get. I still catch myself counting them sometimes. Quietly. when she's asleep and I'm still awake. But tonight, with her head on my chest, with the rain falling like it always has, I'm not counting, I'm just here. And that feels like the safest place I've ever been. Some nights the rain feels heavier even when it's not falling harder, like it's carrying more memories than usual. That's how it felt the evening she asked me to stay the whole night. Not for anything dramatic, just to sleep beside her, to wake up and still be there. I arrived later than usual. The streets were quiet. Mumbai after midnight. Wet sidewalks reflecting orange streetlights. Distant horns sounding far away. She opened the door before I could knock. Must have been watching from the window. She was in her usual sweater. Hair a little longer now, enough to tuck behind her ear when she was nervous. She did that as I stepped inside. "Hey," she said, soft, like she was testing the word. "Hey." We didn't hug right away. We just stood there in the hallway for a second, letting the moment settle. Then she reached for my hand, led me to the balcony like always. But tonight she didn't sit. She leaned against the railing, looked out at the rain instead of at me. I stood beside her. Same place, same distance. After a while she spoke. "I've been thinking about time a lot lately, not in a scary way, just noticing it. How it moves whether I'm ready or not." I waited. She turned her head slightly. "I used to count days like they were running out. Now I'm starting to count them like they're gifts. Small ones, quiet ones, like tonight." I felt something warm behind my ribs. Not sudden, just steady. She looked at me then, really looked. "I want you here when I wake up tomorrow, not just for a few hours, all the way through. I want to open my eyes and see you still breathing next to me." Her voice was calm, but there was a small tremble underneath. The kind that comes when you say something true and it costs you a little. I stepped closer, put my arms around her from behind. Gently, she leaned back into me, let her head rest against my shoulder. "I want that too," I said, quiet, into her hair. We stayed like that until the rain picked up again, louder on the tin, covering the city sounds. Later we went inside. She turned off most of the lights, left only the small lamp by the bed. Warm glow, not bright. She changed in the bathroom, came back in soft pajamas, climbed under the covers, patted the space beside her. I took off my shoes, my shirt, kept the rest simple, slid in next to her. She turned toward me, not rushing, just facing me in the dim light. We didn't speak for a long time, just looked at each other, breathing the same slow rhythm. Then she reached out, traced her fingers along my jaw, like she was memorizing. "I used to be afraid of this," she whispered, "being close when I felt so breakable." I covered her hand with mine, held it there. "You're not breakable," I said. "You're just human, and I'm here for all of it." She closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them again, they were softer, wet at the edges, not tears exactly, just full. She moved closer, tucked herself against me, head on my chest, arm across my waist. I wrapped my arms around her, one hand resting on her back, feeling her breathe. Steady. The rain kept falling outside, soft now, like it was trying not to disturb us. I thought she'd fallen asleep, but after a while she spoke again, voice muffled against my skin. "Thank you for not running when it got quiet, when I made it quiet." I kissed the top of her head, soft, barely there. "I forgive you," I said, "and I'm sorry I didn't push harder, didn't ask more questions, didn't show up at your door when the silence got too long." She let out a small breath, almost a laugh, but soft. "You would've, if you'd known. Maybe." We stayed quiet after that, rain filling the room again, her breathing syncing with it somehow. Later, much later, when the playlist had looped twice and the lamp was the only light left, she spoke again, voice barely above a whisper. "I want to try living like this, not waiting for the next scan, not waiting for the other shoe, just living, with you, in the rain, however long we get." I felt something shift inside me. Not big, not loud, just deeper. I turned my head, kissed her forehead again, slower this time. I want that too, I said. She lifted her face, looked at me, really looked. Then she leaned in, pressed her lips to mine, soft, careful, like she was asking permission with every millimeter. I kissed her back, same way.
No rush, no hunger.
Just yes, yes to this, yes to us, yes to whatever time we had left. When we pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine, eyes closed, breathing the same air. Thank you, she whispered, for still wanting me. I cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek. I never stopped. She smiled then, small, tired, but real. We didn't say anything more that night. We just stayed close, under the blanket, listening to rain on the roof, feeling each other breathe. And in that quiet, the kind of quiet that used to scare me, I realized something gentle, something I hadn't let myself feel before. This wasn't about forever anymore. It was about right now, and right now felt like enough, more than enough. I still don't know how many more nights like this will get. I still catch myself counting them sometimes, quietly, when she's asleep and I'm still awake. But tonight, with her head on my chest, with the rain falling like it always has, I'm not counting, I'm just here, and that feels like the safest place I've ever been. Some nights the rain feels heavier even when it's not falling harder, like it's carrying more memories than usual. That's how it felt the evening she asked me to stay the whole night. Not for anything dramatic, just to sleep beside her, to wake up and still be there. I arrived later than usual. The streets were quiet. Mumbai after midnight. Wet sidewalks reflecting orange streetlights. Distant horns sounding far away. She opened the door before I could knock. Must have been watching from the window. She was in her usual sweater. Hair a little longer now, enough to tuck behind her ear when she was nervous. She did that as I stepped inside. "Hey," she said, soft, like she was testing the word. "Hey." We didn't hug right away. We just stood there in the hallway for a second, letting the moment settle. Then she reached for my hand, led me to the balcony like always. But tonight she didn't sit. She leaned against the railing, looked out at the rain instead of at me. I stood beside her. Same place, same distance. After a while she spoke. "I've been thinking about time a lot lately, not in a scary way, just noticing it. How it moves whether I'm ready or not." I waited. She turned her head slightly. "I used to count days like they were running out. Now I'm starting to count them like they're gifts. Small ones, quiet ones, like tonight." I felt something warm behind my ribs. Not sudden, just steady. She looked at me then, really looked. "I want you here when I wake up tomorrow, not just for a few hours, all the way through. I want to open my eyes and see you still breathing next to me." Her voice was calm, but there was a small tremble underneath. The kind that comes when you say something true and it costs you a little. I stepped closer, put my arms around her from behind. Gently, she leaned back into me, let her head rest against my shoulder. "I want that too," I said, quiet, into her hair. We stayed like that until the rain picked up again, louder on the tin, covering the city sounds. Later we went inside. She turned off most of the lights, left only the small lamp by the bed. Warm glow, not bright. She changed in the bathroom, came back in soft pajamas, climbed under the covers, patted the space beside her. I took off my shoes, my shirt, kept the rest simple, slid in next to her. She turned toward me, not rushing, just facing me in the dim light. We didn't speak for a long time, just looked at each other, breathing the same slow rhythm. Then she reached out, traced her fingers along my jaw, like she was memorizing. "I used to be afraid of this," she whispered, "being close when I felt so breakable." I covered her hand with mine, held it there. "You're not breakable," I said. "You're just human, and I'm here for all of it." She closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them again, they were softer, wet at the edges, Not tears exactly, just full. She moved closer, tucked herself against me, head on my chest, arm across my waist. I wrapped my arms around her, one hand resting on her back, feeling her breathe. Steady. The rain kept falling outside, soft now, like it was trying not to disturb us. I thought she'd fallen asleep, but after a while she spoke again, voice muffled against my skin. Thank you for not running when it got quiet. When I made it quiet, I kissed the top of her head. I was waiting for you to come back, even when I didn't know if you would. She lifted her face, looked up at me. I came back, she said, because you made it safe to. We kissed then, slow, gentle, not hungry, just honest, like saying everything we hadn't said yet with lips instead of words. When we pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine, eyes closed. I love you, she whispered, so quiet I almost didn't hear it over the rain. But I did. I felt it land somewhere deep, warm, real. I love you too, I said. Same volume, same truth. She smiled against my skin, small, peaceful. Then she settled back against my chest, hand over my heart. We didn't say anything else, just held each other, listened to the rain, felt each other breathe. And in that moment, with her heartbeat against mine, I realized the peak wasn't some big dramatic thing. It was this quiet yes, this choosing each other again and again, even when time felt uncertain. Even when tomorrow wasn't promised. We fell asleep like that, entwined, safe, the rain singing us to sleep. And when I woke up in the early morning light, gray through the curtains, she was still there, still breathing, still mine, for now. And now was enough. I still don't know what the rest of the days will bring. I still catch myself holding my breath sometimes, waiting for the next scan, the next quiet spell, the next small fear. But tonight, with her asleep in my arms, with the rain still falling outside like it always has, I'm not afraid of the quiet anymore, because the quiet brought us here. And here feels like the place we were always meant to find each other again. Softly, honestly, finally. If this quiet night stayed with you, if the rain and these words felt like company when you needed it, there are more stories here waiting in the same soft hours, same gentle feelings, same late-night rain. If you like this one, you might find comfort in the next. They're all right here whenever the night calls again. Rest well, or keep listening. Thank you for being here with me.